Good evening, happy January. It's Lindsay from Cosy Owl, soon to be joined by Abby from Make Sense Candles. Tonight we're going to be doing something you probably all expected. It's spring, Valentine's Day coming up. We need to start talking about fragrances. We need to start talking about what we're going to be doing, what everyone's ideas are, maybe spread some ideas, a bit of brainstorming. I'm just going to get Abby joined to the live, so bear with me. I can see everyone joining in now. Hello, hello, hello. How to do this, so bear with me. There we go. We're here. My hair's changed again, can you believe it?
Oh, but it's so long since we've chatted.
Oh, right. It's been a crazy winter season. I don't know about you lot, but we have been swept off our feet.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to start and ask people, actually, because this is our first kind of catch up with everyone else at home as well about how their Christmas went. And from personal experience, mine was quieter than the year before, but I still had plenty of orders to keep me busy. But I was seeing a few like changes in kind of trends with what people were going for scent wise a little bit, going down the sort of more floral, like the sort of winter pine, that kind of thing, as well as the old favourites like Christmas spice from you guys. What have you guys seen who've just joined? Like if you're a candle maker or wax melt maker or diffuser maker, soap maker, anything really, to be honest, that you guys at Cosy Owl provide the supplies for, let us know in the comments as you're joining, like how your Christmas went, what sort of scents were really popular. 'Cause I'm just being nosy generally, but I'm really keen to see if I'm an anomaly or not.
Yeah, no, we found even as a supplier, like I think where this winter was so cold, everyone just kind of wanted a little bit warmer in their homes, even if it wasn't warm, because God knows the energy prices are ridiculous at the moment. But everyone was going for like really rich, really musky scents, just anything to make you feel a bit warmer. But surprisingly, not many people were making candles over the season. We have a lot of obviously regular people, but sort of everyday, start off candle makers, they weren't really going for candles.
That's interesting.
Yeah. We had way more wax melts this year. Reed diffusers, of course. Loads of people have been wanting reed diffuser stuff, and even soaps. Everyone's looking for alternative like products that they buy every single day. So the crunch is really on, but still a really popular industry.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we've gone into the new year, I am changing things up to focus more on diffusers because they last so long, so they're a better price point for people, and they're just a little bit less offensive. So you don't have to go and physically light a candle and then effectively, lose it every time you're sort of burning it, or do anything. You can just like have really lovely scent in your home. So I'm moving more towards that at the moment, but I'll be really keen to hear what everyone else's experience has been over Christmas. I noticed on a few forums and things that people were saying there was a bit of a lull in the lead up.
We're finding a lot of people are now coming back, which is surprising. After COVID, obviously a lot of businesses really took off during COVID, especially in this industry because everyone was sat at home twiddling their thumbs. But we've had so many people coming back to us that we sort of were working with 2018, 2019 that sort of dropped off in 2020. Like I had a customer come in the other day before I even started, they were using us and they were like, oh, I've never seen you before, how are you? Oh, the fragrances are so different now, this, that and the other. And it's great to see. But I mean, for an industry where a lot of existing companies are kind of seeing that lull, a lot of people are now stepping into it, which is amazing.
Yeah, I'm noticing some people pulling back on things and stopping because they've started during COVID, and it's an interesting one. I'm sort of still ticking along and I feel absolutely fine with it because it's my side hustle. It's not my main thing at all, and I love doing this as a hobby. It's probably a good time to introduce myself because I've just jumped straight in. My name's Abby, for anyone just joining. I started Make Sense Candles back in 2020, so I was one of the COVID candle makers that Lindsay's talking about there, and I started working with Cosy Owl over a year ago now,
Nearly
quite a long time. And every couple of weeks we do an Instagram live, or previously we've hosted beginner candle making workshops, and we kind of just use these lives to chat through new ideas, new trends, sometimes Cosy Owl give me a little challenge to come up with like creative ideas that you guys can borrow, and I just kind of share my experience of trying out the products and show you a few firsthand, because I think when you get things up and moving them, it gives you a little bit more context before you go and purchase something and get started. So there's a few sort of tips there that I share on these.
And this live isn't just for us to have a chat and have a natter. It is for you guys to sort of jump in as well. I mean, I love having a natter. It's something for you guys to jump in as well. If you've got any questions, I'm here to answer them, obviously. But anything more towards the industry, more towards maybe you're starting a company, you need some ideas. Abby's amazing. Sorry, I've got to drop you in there. Feel free to ask away. That is exactly what we're here for. And we are there on emails and phone calls and what have you. But sometimes it's just nice to have a conversation, especially with people who are maybe feeling the same as you.
Yeah, we try and be really like open and honest with this, with these lives as well. You know, so I will say the things that don't go right and things that are going well, because I think it's, you know, absolutely fine. I'm not in competition in that respect at all. You know, it's great that everyone is like crafting and becoming more creative and, you know, getting involved in side hobbies and things like that. So today we are talking about fragrance oil, excuse me, that might work really well for Valentines if you're thinking about that. You could just be looking for a February half-term craft. Like, let's not forget that in terms of people that just are happy at home, like crafting. Or you might be starting a business, or you might have, say, a really popular line of soap, but considering starting candle making or wax melt. So there's lots of different places where you could be in your journey. And if you, as Lindsay was saying, if you join in the conversation by dropping in a comment of where you are in that journey, it really helps us to like tailor the conversation around you as well. So we'll absolutely do that. But we've got a few scents here that are, I would say, like alternatives to conventional scents maybe you'd associate with Valentine's and spring, and then maybe ones you haven't found on the website yet. But I'm new to discovering a few today, and we'll just talk through a few tips on making and using these fragrance oils in your products, because I think that's always good to have a little refresher, new year refresh, and back to basics, that kind of thing.
I feel like everything's just kind of gone wild for a couple of months there. But which of the because I sent you the fragrances, of course. Which fragrances are new to you? I'm really, really interested.
So I've been sent V&R Flower Bomb, marshmallow, honey, sugared berry, and Lost Cherry type. So a couple of those, so Lost Cherry type and V&R Flower Bomb, are based on perfumes or inspired by perfumes. Am I right there?
You're absolutely right.
These are perfumes that I hadn't even smelt in real life.
No.
I'm not the biggest on perfumes, whereas I know some people can go, oh yeah, I know exactly what that smells like straight away. So I think that's great for some customers. Like if I had customers who I knew loved certain perfumes, to have a look at this range, it cuts out the middleman for me in terms of describing the scent on websites and things like that. So I think that's really, really helpful. They are beautiful, and they've got so many good reviews on your website.
They do. They really do. And they're one of the like most fragrance. People love designer inspired fragrances because it brings something that's very expensive into a more economy friendly kind of environment, and people can experience and enjoy these at far cheaper than you would get on the high street, which is amazing. But
these little testers are brilliant. So I know you guys have gone more into glass now, but these 10 ml sizes are really useful for just literally smelling them, testing them with some tea lights or something like that before you go into that testing process. We've got a little comment here.
Yeah, you love both the perfumes. You're quite right. The Flower Bomb does need a bit of a high percentage. A lot of them do, you'll find. Anything between sort of 6%. I tend to go a little bit higher on the perfumes just because I like that strength in the perfume fragrances. But that's just my personal opinion. Everyone's palette is different, of course.
Yeah, so if there's any that we talk about today that I'm maybe describing as one thing that you use all the time and you take it as completely different, or your customers experience it in a different way, let us know what the scents mean to you, or maybe how you describe them, because I think that's really helpful to get people to like imagine a scenario. So if it was I've got winter pine in my head already today, then you might consider talking about it being evocative of woodland walk or something like that. So anything with these ones, I think these would be great, not only for Valentine's, but if you're looking for wedding scents. So you might be making large orders for candles on every single table of a wedding or something like that, and having a scent is such a powerful thing for a wedding day. So I think this flower bomb's really lovely for that. It's just like a floral bouquet, really. I think there's a like almost like citrusy, and it's quite delicate and light, so I can see why it would need a higher percentage added.
Absolutely. And you'll find that with some of them. Some of them are insanely strong. I find a lot of the fruit or citrusy ones are really, really strong. Whereas some of the perfumes, because it is like a delicate perfume, like you wouldn't want to walk around absolutely humming of a perfume, but they are really, really delicate, and they are extremely effective as well. But it all depends on what fragrance load you use, but also what product you're using. So if you're making a candle or wax melt, a reed diffuser, it varies really. I like Stacey will kill me. I like Plum and Mulberry in the fragrance diffusers. She's actually the one that put me onto it, and she's got them all over her flat, and it smells amazing, but at a really high percentage. And Plum and Mulberry is a really nice, delicate, gentle fragrance, and we have it in candles in the office, and it's not really potent, but you get sort of an undertone of it. In the diffusers, it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, if there's any we talk about today, Lindsay, that you've tried in other things like soap or anything like that, that would be really helpful to know, because I've got these cold in the bottle here today, and I think some of them like honey and marshmallow, I think I would need to dilute down slightly to actually feel the true effect of the fragrance oil, if that makes sense.
So honey in particular, I'm glad you mentioned that one. That is one of my favourite oils. I put that in candles or wax melts, primarily wax melts if I'm at home. But that hot scent throw on honey, to die for. It's so sweet and subtle, and it just reminds you of like a honey tea or like lemon and honey or anything like that. That warm fragrance is beautiful. I like it soap, but warm is far better.
I've seen some recipes with soap on your website. I know Hayley's been busy with those because they work really well in the bee mold naturally. But yeah, I think with these as well, like I'm picking this up and smelling it for the first time like a customer would be where they've just arrived in the post. You do need to like not just to almost judge a book by its cover. You do need to get in and test with your regular wax or your diffuser base, basically. I'm trying to avoid saying the word because I hate saying the word of the diffuser oil.
Well, it's point there. It's good to let them breathe a little bit as well. I find a lot of times, like especially in our little showroom in the premises in Braintree, so we've taken all the little nibs off the top of the 10ml bottle. I can't think of the right word for that, but we now use like paper fragrance strips rather than sticking the bottle to your nose where you'll get it really intense and really strong. Having it on a paper that you can waft around, it dilutes it enough so you can still get the full effect of the scent, but it's not so strong that you're like, whoa, what is that? Because I've smelt so many of our fragrances, well, over the years that I've now been at Cosy Owl, sometimes I'll smell it and go, whoa, that's really, really strong. I like it, but it's strong. And then you get it on the fragrance strip, it's like, oh, actually, what is that? And that's different, and I can never identify them, especially if they've been made into a product. So
it's difficult when you've got them in the bottle compared to in an actual product to pick out those individual scent notes that you guys describe on the website. Now I look at those as a basis whenever I'm writing about a product that I'm trying to launch and describe the scent notes, but I kind of pick out the ones that I find most prominent, and they tend to be the sort of middle note, because some of them, am I right that they come on kind of after you've lit it, so you get that initial scent? So can you sort of talk us through like how it works with the scent notes?
So with every fragrance, you get cold throw and a hot throw. So the cold throw is primarily your top and somewhat mid notes. The hot throw gives you the undertones as well because it's really exuding everything out of that fragrance. Now, we're just talking about honey. I'm just looking on the website now. So I get real honey, amber, kind of a little bit citrus through it. But when you're burning it, you get that really sort of creamy and like really soft, almost sandalwoody undertone to honey. I don't know if you got that from the cold throw.
No,
Almost,
not at this point. So that's really interesting.
yeah, it's almost two different fragrances. So let's have a look.
So in a diffuser, if you were going to put honey in a diffuser, or maybe you have before, when would you expect to get that kind of those base notes?
So I find, and it's really weird, I find it when you're sort of getting to the end of your diffuser, once you flip the reeds a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it depends what time of year you're using your diffuser. So over the winter, and I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but we notice it all the time because our building is freezing 9 times out of 10. If we have diffusers over the winter, not only do they run down a lot slower, but it's also a very mild scent throw. In the summer, however, it goes through so quickly, but you also get a really rich undertone and you get those mid and base notes through it. And it is literally the temperature difference, and it's how that fragrance is evaporating and at what temperature it's evaporating.
Mm.
With the diffusers, of course, it's not burning off, it is just evaporating through the reeds and it draws up through the reeds. That's why you're constantly having to flip them. But you get such a good idea of a fragrance. And I do say to people, if they're testing fragrances, use it in a diffuser and see how it goes, especially if it's one you're unsure of. If it's something you've smelt and gone, don't really like that, but my customers do, let's give it a go. Try it in a diffuser and just leave it in the background and see how you cope with it. And that's great for candle making as well, because if you're going to be using any fragrances, you've got to like it, otherwise your job's going to be really difficult that day.
Absolutely. You, let alone making something in the kitchen and dealing with the fragrance oils in a neat form, which is super strong, to be able to sell something convincingly, and you know, whether that's through social media posts or talking, maybe you host lives as well and talk about your products, or do videos or reels or any of this sort of stuff. If you don't like it, it will show. It definitely will come across because you'll be unenthusiastic about it. So no, I think that's a really good point. So we've got a couple others here as well. What have I got? Yeah, Lost Cherry I kind of skipped over, just even though we were talking about sort of designer fragrances there. It's lovely. It's one of the easiest ones to picture because it is, I just get cherries and like cassis and plum. It's really rich.
Designer fragrance when I first started, because my first week I sat in a room with Stacey and we'd literally just launched a few more I can't think of the word, I want to say that's not the word, premium fragrances. She got a basket and just went, smell those, and one of them was sugared berry, and I will never put that bottle down because it's so nice.
Yeah, this one
all throughout the year I find.
I've got confused with these two. Hang on. Yes, so sugared berry is more rich, and I would say probably in a candle that would make that a stronger, sort of more peppery undertone, a stronger scent, just literally on first glance. But they're quite similar.
They are very similar, and it's the fruity tones through it, but it's, again, once you put it into a product you really get an idea of what it is. So sugar berry, obviously we were just launching at that point, so we'd made various different products using it, and it really is like, imagine you've got a bowl of fruit sprinkled with sugar, you're giving it a good old mix and you're really chowing down on a summer's day. That is what it smells like. I can't describe it any better than that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good description.
Really fruity.
And the thing with any of the fragrance oils, if you are starting out, you can change the name of them to suit you. So that absolutely can work for you. So I've got an example of this for Valentine's Day. This candle here is an embedded one because I think I love them as much as like Hayley does when she's filming all her content for you guys. Now this uses a scent that has roses in it primarily, but that might be just one of the scent notes. Cosy Owl's, your website's actually got a Valentines section, because I was just doing a little bit of research before joining today, and you've got quite a few different rose fragrances. So there's red roses, there's roses in champagne, there's apricot rose, which I've tried before. Red roses is very, very similar to traditional sort of rose petal scent, peony petal, that kind of scent. The champagne one I haven't tried, but so I might be coming to you. Have you tried that one?
I have. I actually use the 10 ml bottles at home all the time, because I'm never at home. I'm always at work or doing work or whatever. I put a couple of drops in my Hoover filter, so when I'm at home and I'm doing the Hoover and the housework, I get all the fragrance come through. It's amazing. If you haven't,
yeah, that's such a good tip. Thank you. So much better than that horrible like dust smell that you get from Hoovers.
It really is.
So even if you're going to go with any of these scents and pick up on certain scent notes that are described, you could then basically launch a candle or something. I realise this is actually quite difficult to read, especially backwards. Anyway, this candle is called Chasing Rainbows. So it's more of a romantic kind of idea of travelling the world and falling in love with travel. So that's the kind of image I'm going for, basically. But the scent is roses, and that is my nod to Valentine's, with pink dye and embedded roses that are just wax melt molds. That are these from Cosy Owl. So that's the sort of thing you could do. You could take any of these today and sort of change the name, and you just basically make a note of that on the CLP. Use the same sort of hazards that are listed in the CLP information for the original name of the fragrance. So if I was using the flower bomb in that, I would use the CLP information for flower bomb, pop that in, change my name on my logo, absolutely fine.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of the fragrances that we do, we've even changed the name from the supplier that we've got them from, because we find that picking out a different scent note represents the fragrance a lot better. So if you're finding that yourself, I mean, that's a fantastic name. But if you're not that creative, which I'm not, finding a different scent note or something that really presents to you is a fantastic name for your product. Because again, you need to know your product, you need to like your product to be able to sell it on to others. I love that name, by the way.
Thank you. But what I will say is I do put the main scent notes underneath on my on my label. So if there's anything that people will go, oh well, I don't know what Chasing Rainbows even refers to, because it's a whimsical idea and just a name or something, I make sure the notes are there so that people can go, oh, roses, okay, yeah, I know what that is.
See, I'm more inclined, especially when I'm out and about, I'm more inclined to pick up a candle that's got a different name or something that's not quite what it is, because I want to pick it up and I want to smell it and I want to see what it's all about. And you go, oh, that smells like that, or that smells like that, or I like that, or I don't. But you already entice a customer by having something different, which is incredible. But put underneath, amazing as well, because not everyone wants to stand there in a shop and pick the lids off. I'm one of them people.
When I see people in high street shops though, I always want to like go over to them and be like, here's my card. And they're just looking at mainstream stuff. Yeah, I never do, but right. I'm always tempted.
My goodness, you should. I go out in Braintree town, obviously that's where I am, that's where Cosy Owl is, and there's a lot of our customers on the high street selling their products, which I love to see, because I can walk around and go, oh hi, but there's so many people wondering where that's from. I want to do this, that and the other, and if I go out wearing this, oh my god, I get bombarded. Everyone wants to know. And especially if I'm talking to one of the customers that's out there selling their products and we're having a conversation, it works both ways. So we get another customer, they get another customer. You almost start a collaboration, which is incredible. I love this community. I love this industry because everyone there to help.
Yeah, it's brilliant, because there's always one person one step ahead of you, or one person one step behind, who you can help or you can get help from. So it's really good, and it saves you a lot of time by sharing ideas, because we chat about testing and things like that. So if you're doing any if you wanted to try out any of these fragrances, you would have to go through a testing process. So you might want to think about some of these to give yourself more time for spring, and think about ones that will kind of transcend through Valentine's into spring, just to give yourself that extra time to try these in it with different wick combinations, different container combinations, to get that system and that recipe right, because that's the tricky thing. Or you might want to just have a look at changing the name of some of your existing spring, products that work really well for you, and just tweaking them slightly to give them a bit of a spring or a Valentine's feel.
Absolutely.
Adding some hearts or something like that.
And being in January at the moment, I know we're coming to the end, but you could even rework some of your Christmas fragrances if you've still got stock. So a lot of people, especially with the Christmas spice or winter pine, winter spruce, people will change the name moving forward into January. Christmas memories, like season, this, that, and the other. I'm terrible at creating names out of my head, but if you change the name of an existing product, it's the same product, people will still love it, but people get a different feel of that because you've enhanced that. I always go out in January sales and buy all the Christmas fragrances because I love it over Christmas, and you don't get it enough because you can't find it in the middle of the summer. I still like it then.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any harm in spring, summer, when you're sitting in the garden, lighting a candle in the evening, because it still gets colder at that point. It's still cozy. It's still nice having a blanket in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
And you might want to use things like marshmallow scent through then, and that, toasting marshmallows and that kind of feel. And this one is definitely one I need to try in something.
You keep picking it up and smelling it.
It's super sweet, yeah. But they're all like that. I keep wanting to go back to them because some of them are really intriguing that I can't quite put my finger on it, what I'm getting from it. I just wanted to kind of throw out a couple of other fragrance oils that I've had in the past from you guys that I think are quite good spring alternatives and Valentine's alternatives. And I'm wondering how to segue into this tip, but Valentine's is a tricky one because I think because it's only a short window, obviously, between now and February, and it's just one day and it's not got the same hype around it as Christmas or something like that. Mm-hmm. You have to find something that's quite versatile and maybe can last longer in spring. But also have a look at your audience, so whoever follows you on social media, because if, say, your audience are mainly female, or they're your main customer base, consider who they might be buying Valentine's or spring presents for, or things like that, and what scents they tend to buy. So if you're thinking of introducing one, try to consider them as well. Maybe do polls to ask them what they'd like, something like that. Because I'm kind of on the fence about having too many, in my own personal range, too many masculine scents, as much as I love them, because I know a lot of my buyers aren't male, and they don't seem to do as well for me as like the floral, typically feminine scents. So even there's some amazing ones with Cosy Owl. This, how do you say this one? Acqua di Gio?
I can't pronounce it either, but yeah, okay. It's an inspired fragrance. You did very, very well.
It's kind of made it sound exotic as well. Aftershave inspired, yeah. So but it's really fresh. So you could even use this as like a sort of kitchen bathroom scent as well, I think, because it's really lovely. So it would be quite universal. But so my kind of long-winded way of saying my tip is kind of don't pigeonhole yourself too much with who you think that you're aiming a particular product at, and try and get it to kind of be a bit more universal. Yeah. Especially if your customer base isn't quite there. Because I love this, but I'm not sure how well it would do just for literally a month limited edition for my own brand.
Absolutely. And ask for reviews on your products as well. Send out an email every so often and say, what did you like about this? What didn't you like about that? What would you like to see? And it is all helpful, and people are going to help you. We do it at Cosy Owl. We do it all the time. We send out review emails after every single order. We send out like large survey emails just to get you guys' feedback, just to see what you would like to see, what you might like us to change or do differently, any tips and tricks you want. I mean, our info and guide section is rapidly expanding now for the thanks to the lovely Hayley. I don't know how she gets the time, but my God, she's wonderful. But it's all stuff that we've taken from your feedback. Even the new website, that's all your feedback. And we couldn't have done that without you. So don't forget your customers as well, because you will only grow thanks to them.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant to point that out. I'm going to whiz through a couple more. Ocean from you guys. This is an alternative to sort of fresh linen, clean cotton. It's incredibly fresh, so New Year, that I think will go down really well with people.
That fresh linen.
It's good. It's very good. Universal scent as well, so very clean and fresh. Fresh cut grass, it basically says what it does on the tin. So if you want to fast forward to spring, and that kind of, maybe you want to put that against like a floral bouquet sort of scent, like flower bomb or something like that, I think that's really lovely and universal, and a quite easy one to describe, because it is what it says. So I think that's quite a easy one to add in. And we talked a lot about floral scents for spring and Valentine's, but there are also other alternatives like caramel, chocolate, all of those as well. The only thing we haven't had time to do today, but I'll just point people back to the guides and also our older videos to talk about tips on flashpoints and getting started with testing and fragrance oils. So if you've been inspired by anything today, and you need to go back to checking how to actually get started with these fragrance oils, and go back to some of our old reels or have a look at those guides, because they are really useful for understanding CLPs, flashpoints, you know, all the great things about the fragrance oils as well, that they have like no CMRs, and you can find out what they are as well, and they're all vegan friendly and all of those sorts of things too, that we just literally just don't have enough time to cover.
No, there's not enough time in the world.
No, there isn't, especially when we start chatting about things.
Do get a little bit carried away, but that's okay. I mean, if there is anything that anyone wants to ask, feel free. I will point out just a couple of tweaks on the new website. We've noticed the live chat plugin hasn't swapped over yet, so that is in the work. Sorry about that, guys. I know there's a lot of emails coming through because of that, so that is all slowly getting sorted out. There's a few questions about payment on the new website as well. The Klarna plugin is entirely separate, so if you're having problems with Klarna, email us. If you're having problems with the address, we're noticing postcode seems to be removing themselves at the moment. Again, that's all in development. Just re-enter it or give us a call. We'll do it all for you. I think that's about it, really. There's not too much going on at the moment.
That's okay. Touch wood quickly.
Tell me about it. But we're just getting settled back in after Christmas and the New Year as well. There's a lot of stuff that's out of stock, all due back in sort of within February. A lot actually on Valentine's Day, funnily enough. So I hope everyone's got sort of stockpiles ready. But if there's any questions that any of you guys have, feel free to DM us on Instagram, Facebook, what have you. Back in the office, of course, tomorrow morning. Abby, is there anything that you wanted to add finally there?
I would maybe say, if you are desperate for things that are out of stock, just as like a candle maker myself, set things up to pre-order for when, you know, if you've got things that are tried and tested, when it comes back in, because you'll still get the orders coming through. So, and then you can always put a free gift in there or something like that for people. So don't get too worried about these sorts of things as well. There are ways around it.
The demand is always there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this evening.
No,
very nice catching up.
It's been a pleasure, and yeah, I hope it's not too long since we get to speak again.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye.